Welcome back. Today I want to explore a difficult concept. And what does it mean when you say we can get used to anything? And what is the true range of that? Today we explore a continuation of Viktor Frankl's work, Man in Search for Meaning, as we explore what that looks like when we're stripped of everything and must become used to the absolute absurd. So I hope you stick with us today here on Circle Theory. Thanks for sticking with us. If you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, share. Down below, you can find links to this book, Twitter, my other creative projects, such as my books and fantasy and other descriptions, and I appreciate all of your support. But let's go ahead and hop in. Viktor Frankl says, if someone now asked us of the truth of novelist Dostoevsky's statement that flatly defines man as being one who can get used to anything, we would reply, yes, a man can get used to anything, but do not ask us how. In our last episode, we explored the nakedness of our existence when we're stripped from everything and the brutal reality of a concentration camp. Today, we continue that discussion by looking at exactly what it means to become used to anything. What we're suggested here by Frankl is that we can indeed become used to anything, but we're not entirely sure how, because the pain and suffering endured by those in camps such as Auschwitz was horrendous. And Frankl continues that, right? He talks about saying the prisoner of Auschwitz in the first phase of shock did not fear death. Even the gas chamber lost their horrors for him after the first few days. After all, they spared him the act of committing suicide. And so what he mentions here is this idea of reaching a point of being so low that death ceases to be scary, because it spares us of the reality that we need this to end and gives us an escape from our existence. And now this becomes a platform for us to explore some more of his ideas. He says, I think it was the writer and philosopher Gotthold Lessing who once said, there are things which must cause you to lose your reason, or you have none to lose. An abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. Even we psychiatrists expect the reaction of a man to an abnormal situation, such as being committed to an asylum, to be abnormal in proportion to the degree of his normality. The reaction of a man to his admission to a concentration camp also represents an abnormal state of mind, but judged objectively, it is a normal and, as will be shown later, typical reaction to the circumstances. A lot of words to explain a powerful idea that an abnormal reaction to an abnormal circumstance is normal in and of itself, and that the more normal an individual is, the odder the reaction will be to an abnormal circumstance. And we're using this to help understand how something as brutal as being put in a camp can alter our psychological behavior. And so this now becomes how we can view that through understanding that abnormal circumstances will alter how we behave. This is a theme that we explore in Jung quite a bit as we look at some of the different concepts of the shadow and thus force. But as we continue to discuss, who were trained in psychoanalysis often spoke of a regression in the camp, a retreat to a more primitive form of mental life. His wishes and desires became obvious in his dreams. What did the prisoner dream about most frequently? Of bread, cake, cigarettes, and a nice warm bath. The lack of having these simple desires satisfied led him to seek wish fulfillment in dreams. Whether these dreams did any good is another matter. The dreamer had to wake from them to the reality of camp life, and to the terrible contrast between that and his dream illusions. And so, even if the state or unconscious is incapable of giving us our wish fulfillment in a psychoanalytic perspective, that no matter what, we still have to wake to our reality. I find this to actually be quite transferable to daily life. No matter what we can fulfill in the unconscious, we still have to cope and live with reality, which is a theme we'll explore later in the series of how we find meaning in suffering and how we deal with reality. So I hope you stick with us as we move through this. And he continues, he says, we all felt more dead than alive, since we thought that our transport was heading for the camp at Mauthausen, and that we had only 1 or 2 weeks to live. I had a distinct feeling that I saw the streets, the squares, the houses of my childhood with the eyes of a dead man who had come back from another world and was looking down on a ghostly city. And what we're getting here is the idea that as we go through dramatic circumstances, our perspective changes. Our way of viewing reality is subjective in relation to our own experiences and what is going on with us psychologically. How we will see things around us, which will ultimately alter our behavior, is impacted by our situations, which is a common theme in sociology. And so he continues here, says, my mind still clung to the image of my wife. A thought crossed my mind. I didn't even know if she were still alive. I knew only one thing, which I have learned well by now. Love goes very far beyond the physical person of the beloved. It finds its deepest meaning in his spiritual being, his inner self. Whether or not he is actually present, whether or not he is still alive at all, ceases somehow to be of importance. And I found this nugget of a piece here to be extremely important. And what we're getting from Frankl here is the clear and direct idea that love, it might be one of the most powerful forces that transcends us in ourselves. If you've studied this channel at all, you know that we are big fans of passion, existentialism, and art. And these are all themes that stem from a powerful emotional state like that. And that's actually what I want to pick up next week, is discussing art and humor in Auschwitz and how those things can actually exist. So again, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, share, or check out some of our other creative works. And I hope to catch you next time here on Circle Theory.